This week, the initiative PanFam and Fraternity look for content in the North. FI.RE Coalition continues to remove IGC from Feythabolis. No progress is made by PAPI in establishing a foothold in the O-EIMK constellation. And once again, this month, I have 2 more Procuroscope syndication skins to give away. Hello, pod people. I'm Frost, and this is your weekly EVE Online War Update. Welcome back. So I'm releasing a little bit later today. The reason why is some things were happening in 3-D MQT after downtime, and I need to stick around and see what happened, as it was going to potentially influence this update this week. We now got that all sorted. So first things first, let's do the Procuroscope syndication skin winners. So the winners for last week's episode are Orhan Memedov and John Rodriguez. Your names are right here. You haven't actually claimed your prizes yet, so please do get in touch with me. Check the comments and you'll find out what you need to do in the comments. We do have a winner from the previous week, who is Otto von Still. So thank you, there is Otto right here. And Alex Nestorenko, you still need to claim your skin as well. And as of course, I've got 2 more to give away a little bit later on in the episode. Right, that's all done. So as always, I'm going to jump up into my box. We're going to grab my pen. And you're going to see that this week things are going to be a little bit different. We're literally going to focus on Calavera, Ethereum Reach. We're going to mention the Forge just because it's relevant for the staging for the initiative. We're going to talk a little bit about Feythabolis and then Delve. And then pretty much everything else is really quiet. I may just touch on a couple of bits and pieces, but really this is what it's now boiling down to, is just this kind of these 3 areas. So let me turn my pen off. And what we'll do is we'll jump straight away into Ethereum Reach. So just like last week, LXQ2-T jump gate got destroyed by the initiative. It's now become a weekly thing, as I mentioned. And also all of the systems that I'm going to highlight here that belong to Pandemic Horde were all I think this one as well, were all reinforced today. And they came out of reinforced, they weren't contested, so the initiative was just basically kicking off timers and making Pandemic Horde potentially form for these. So that's something to be aware of. Now the main thing that's happening up in this part of the world is, as you know, the initiative are in the Forge. They're in UMON in a low sec station. And I need to point out as well that last week I said that potentially the dreads that were undocked could be pointed with a heavy interdictor. I've since been corrected. I need to just clarify that. The capitals can still dock even if they're pointed on a low sec station or a null sec station. So an NPC station, you can dock. So once again, slightly different rules there than for Upwell structures. And I just wanted to clear that up. So they weren't in too much danger, that they were able to dock. Okay, so what's happening? So the initiative, as I said, are coming in to Ethereum Reach and into Calavera, and they're just doing things like dropping structures. So they dropped an Asbel earlier in the week and in LXQ2-T, and that was destroyed. They have now dropped another one in Calavera in R10, which is a staging system, or R10 to be exact, which is a staging system for Pandemic Horde. And that is coming out, was anchoring tonight around 1855, 1900 UTC tonight. So, they're basically just trying to generate content. Pandemic Horde seem to be fine with this. They're forming fleets. Fraternity is getting involved as well, as is PanFam on the whole. So, for example, Northern Coalition, Pandemic Legion, Reckless Contingency, Slice, all these guys are coming out. There isn't much soft warfare going on from the initiative's point of view, because timers have been put outside of their time zones. So Pandemic Horde and have put all of theirs into US time zone, and Slice or Solaris Strontium, I'll get it right one day, those guys, they can cover the US time zone no problem, and so therefore there is kind of real no SOV warfare going on. And structured timers are very difficult for the initiative to do the armor times on, because they're in the wrong time zone. So that is why the initiative are dropping their own structures in and trying to create content that way. So that's pretty much it for what's going on in the north. Then we're going to drop back to our unit map quickly, and we're going to go to Curse. I'm just going to mention Curse very quickly because last week I said in curse that all the initiative structures have been destroyed in G-0Q86, and actually there was an Asbel still left, and that got destroyed this week. So that was it. That's it for curse. That was all the news. And then what we're going to do is we're going to forget Deterid, Tenerifis. Isn't much happening there. Remember, literally triggered were there. They're still there. There's still not much of activity from what I can see. So we're going to go straight to Feythabolis. Also with Impass, I'm going to mention that very quickly as well. I spoke to FI Coalition, and they said that all of the structures have been put into US time zone by Red Menace Coalition, so it's completely out of their reach. And so they're just kind of doing, special interest groups are just doing some general harassment in Impasse, and that's it. Right, so Feythabolis. In Feythabolis, IGC are still being pushed hard. You can see they're losing more and more territory. On top of that, FI Coalition are systematically destroying their structures. So this week they destroyed a Fortizar in P8-, which is up there. They then destroyed a Sotillo in R4K, and I can't even remember what R4K is. Now it all comes down to this system here, which is NX5W-U. The keep start is in its final timer. That final timer comes out once again at 1900 UTC tonight. That is 31st of May 2021. And on top of this, one of the things I need to mention as well is that because XIX have held this iHub for so long, they've actually got a jump gate in here, and they can jump straight from Tenerifis into here. So they can actually get from their staging in Innsmother in about 4 jumps. So it's no problem for them to actually get themselves here. So that final timer comes out tonight. I mentioned that XIX had lost this iHub in RIT-A7. Once again, FI Coalition said that the staging Fortizar was in there that belonged to IGC. Once the staging Fortizar died and was destroyed, they didn't worry about it anymore, and they just left that to be reclaimed. So I think that gets us up to speed on everything in Feythabolis. So yeah, so things are not looking too good for IGC, and they're being constantly under pressure. FI Coalition doesn't have much to do at the moment, so that's keeping them occupied. And we'll come back to that a little bit later about sort of keeping occupied. Then we're going to go into our giveaway. All right, let's do a quick giveaway. So once again, 2 more Procuroscope syndication skins. I think you know how this works right now. That basically I give you a keyword. I actually haven't thought of a keyword to use for this episode, so I'm going to have to make one up on the fly. And why don't we just go with Imperium? There you go. It's a word that I just spotted there in my list. They are still relevant, so, and it doesn't matter what side you're on, I'm sure you can make up a sentence with the word Imperium. There we go. So that is our keyword this week for the 2 Procuroscope syndication skins. And as always, the cutoff date is Friday the 4th of June at 1800 UTC, and I will then reply to you in the comments to let you know that you won your skin and how to go and claim it. Right, there we go, job done. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go on to Esoteria. So in Esoteria, nothing has really happened on the sub front. None of the systems changed. Bastion is still holding like 4 systems. Good Sax still holding this system in 0-06XF, and Ferrata Victrix have the one in C-V. So apart from that, there have been some structures dying. There was an AOM structure that died. It looked like it died unanchoring. There was no rigs in it. Either that or the rigs had been stripped. So there was no fitting of any kind. So I'm not quite sure whether it was anchoring or, like I said, it wasn't fitted. But either way, that was destroyed by the Bastion with the help of Ferrata Victrix and who else was it? There was someone else involved. Afterlife. There we go. Then I also got some clarification on what was happening. I thought originally Army of Mango were doing all the work here. What's actually happening is Army of Mango are reinforcing stuff because they're generally fighting in a different time zone. So they're just reinforcing structures, reinforcing SOV. And then it's primarily Legacy Coalition who are coming out and deploying fleets. Once a time has been created, then they can set a timer for that and announce a fleet and then come on over to deal with that. So that's about it. Oh, there was one last thing as well. If you remember last week, I talked about a big super capital deployment that happened out of R-ARKN, and I presume, and Snuffed Out were involved, and the initiative showed up, and I presume something got tackled. That was the case. I now have the full story. A spy, I think it was a Snuffed Out spy in Army of Mango, fleet warped a Titan to a Thera wormhole, which caused mass panic, and that's why all those Supers and Titans got undocked. But it was saved, and as you remember, there wasn't a kill mail. But yeah, pretty much hot under the collar there for a little while for Army of Mango. All right, so then what we're going to do, we're going to mention Fountain very quickly. I just wanted to say, I mentioned, was it Lollipop Monopoly? They're a small, very small alliance. I said they're potentially moving to Fountain. Celestial Empire confirmed that they've given them some space in their space, and they're settling down nicely. So there we go. So that's the story for Lollipop Monopoly. Then we will come on to Delve. So as you know with Delve, it all comes down to this constellation, and we include as well these two systems, as these are the two systems that are used by PAPI to try and get into 3-D MQT. So they have their jump bridge or jump gate that goes into E-V. And then all the fuss has been about 3-D MQT, and then particularly about anchoring ASBELs. So the situation is no progress has been made. And in fact, things have actually turned for the worse for PAPI. So let me just do some quick stats here so we know exactly what's going on. So since Monday, 1500 UTC last week, 5 PAPI ASBELs have been destroyed in 3-D MQT. 2 of those died today, and they died uncontested. These are the 2 I mentioned that happened just after downtime. Essentially, as you can see, I've got some footage right here. You know, basically, the Imperium brought 1,300 people, 1,300 tunes, and the Initiative brought their Titans out, and they just blapped it uncontested. So what's been happening essentially is that on the Tuesday night, I think it was, that's very Tuesday early AM, there was a fight that happened. I had the battle report right here, and you could see that there was some serious losses by PAPI compared to the Imperium. And what happened is that these harpies, which were the new doctrine that were implemented by PAPI the previous week and seemed to be effective, turned out to no longer be effective. And the reason why is that they turned out to be extremely squishy, very easy to kill by space superiority fighters. So that's things like Grams and Dragonflies, I think, and I can't remember the others, Energies, I think. So either way, basically this SS fighters were able to obliterate these harpies, and the super carriers put their SS fighters on the harpies and took them out. Also, the other thing is, I think in previous week they weren't the focus of attention, but this time it looks like they were the first thing to take damage and to be focused on, and then after that the hack fleets would then turn towards the hack fleet, sorry. So this basically showed that that PAPI improvement or refinement or iteration just didn't work out. The counter was pretty straightforward to that. And so that was pretty much the major engagement that happened the whole week. And let me just take my pen off again. And so as a consequence of this, if we actually look, I have all my battle reports as always for the week. Let me close my structure tab and open up my thing. So there we go. So we had this was the Monday to Tuesday. So I always go 1500 UTC on a Monday to 1459 the next day, simply because I shoot my videos around 1600 UTC. So you can see there was a pretty even match. And then the next day, this was the day when they had the 135 billion lost for the PAPI side. Then the following day, once again, it drops down to 30 billion. And another, sort of 30 billion one side, 15 billion the other, 40 billion, and then we've got 30 billion approximately. And then this was Sunday night, sort of very early hours, Monday morning UTC. Then obviously, we had once again some activity there, a little bit more, but most of these deaths were attributed obviously to the ASBELs as well, the 2 that died today, as well as some fights that happened last night. Trying to anchor another of the ASBELs. But this has shown that it's now not working. And the questions we now need to ask with this is where is this war going now? Because what we're basically seeing is that there's been no real change in attack methods by PAPI. They tried to refine their doctrine, that's not worked. And we can now see that the different groups are taking interest elsewhere. You know, PanFam have now got some content up north. Like I said, Fire Coalition are just busy keeping themselves busy fighting IGC. And then Legacy Coalition, even themselves, you know, they're going off and doing some fights now in Esoteria. And so it now remains, you know, as to whether this war will actually continue, especially when we take into account some other things. That there's been no EU activity in terms of strategic warfare in Del for like over 2 weeks now. You know, there's still like Karma Fleet and Pandemic Horde are still bringing out fun fleets and going out in cormorants and stuff and attacking each other. But apart from these 2 strategic attempts in the US time zone, nothing's happened in EU. And also now, there is only one ASBEL anchoring this week. That's coming out on Sunday the 6th. So, you know, if you think last week we had 5, this week we've got 1. So, you know, that is really kind of showing that this is kind of, it must be coming to an end. And I'd like to hear your thoughts in your comments on this. The other thing to bear in mind as well is that for us in the Northern Hemisphere, summer is now approaching. Lockdown is coming to an end in a lot of countries. People are going outdoors again. They obviously missed out on the summer last year because of lockdown. That's not the case this year. And so, you know, we're potentially going to see line members not showing up for fleets because they want to be outdoors, which is quite understandable. So that's kind of where we're at. And obviously the last thing as well, I'm just going to give you some figures that the Imperium lost 289 billion. This is always covering these systems here. There's a big thick pen just to finish off with. And so 289 billion for the Imperium, 423 billion for PAPI. And if you amalgamate those numbers together, you know, that's kind of we're seeing like 60% now, 70% of the numbers in terms of destruction that we did in previous weeks. So we're seeing a slowdown kind of on all levels here. All right, so I'm going to say, as always, please like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications, talk in the comments, talk about what I've been talking about today, about, you know, where you think this war is going. Obviously, you want to enter the prize draw, you know the keyword now, so pop that in there as well. In a sentence, of course. And do mention me in your Corp Discords and Alliance Discords. And right, I will see you next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.